I'm Nikolai with Seattle Kettlebell Club. Today I'm going to show you how to properly chalk your kettlebell so that you can get the most out of your set. So I've already cleaned, prepared the handle here. Right. So you can see there's no leftover chalk residue or rust or anything on there. I just used a little sandpaper this time, cleaned off the old chalk and the old rust, and now it's fairly shiny. It has some little micro abrasions from the fine grit sandpaper. My hands are nice and clean. I just washed those. I didn't use any detergent, just hot water. You don't want to wash off all the oils off your hands. You just want to make sure that they're dirt free. So the oils and a little bit of moisture from your hands actually helps the chalk stick to the handle. So a little bit of that is a good thing. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take some nice clean chalk. Make sure you keep it in a separate container and make sure it has a lid and you don't get it contaminated with other stuff. And then I'll take the chalk and I'll begin to rub it all over my hands. I want to get a nice coat of chalk covering the entirety of my hands. Okay. I'm going to take some of that chalk dust and also rub it in really well. Okay. When it's done, it should look almost like it's painted on. And then you can start working it into the handle all the way around. Okay. This is going to take a couple of passes. But once you get a nice thin layer on there, I find that the rest wants to adhere a little bit better. Okay. There we go. You want to get all the way down to the paint because, first of all, the chalk's supposed to absorb moisture, and you want to make sure you get it anywhere that any sweat might accumulate or anywhere that your hands might touch. Okay? You have to take your time doing this. Some people like to use water and spray down the handle. I find that makes a rough, pebbled surface that almost feels like concrete, and that can tear your hands even more so than a non-chalked bell. It should feel nice and smooth. Okay? Give it a turn every once in a while so you're distributing the chalk evenly. The longer my set and the heavier the bell, the more meticulous I'll be about chalking my handle. It requires a little extra time, but you can be happier with your results. Your hands aren't slipping. Nothing's more frustrating than having a good set and then having your hands slip and having to stop early. And that is starting to look pretty good. This is holding pretty well because I prepared the handle ahead of time. I didn't rush through it. I have found that if you use detergents like heavy soaps on your hand or on the handles prior to trying to chalk them, that for some reason that chalk just doesn't want to stick. So that just led me to the conclusion that a little bit of the oils that are naturally occurring on your hands actually help that chalk stick just a little bit. You'll start to notice little slightly gray spots where the chalk hasn't adhered as well, and you'll want to just spend a little extra time getting those spots, especially if you're OCD, like some of my friends in the kettlebell world. Jessica Gray, not naming any names. Make sure you take your rings off too. If you're doing this, your rings will scratch up the chalk and not leave you very smooth surface. Also, your calluses, if they're not filed down properly, will also scratch that chalk off. And actually, my right hand is not looking great, so I'm getting some tiny little scratches, but I'll live with it today. Good. Starting to look pretty sweet. Glad I got this on my first attempt. Sometimes it doesn't always happen on the first attempt. Something goes wrong, I don't know. Your hands are too dry, or maybe your chalk got a little bit contaminated with some moisture. People who were sweating inside the chalk bowl, which is kind of a pet peeve of mine, having their heads drip right into the sweat bowl, or the chalk bowl. That'll ruin the chalk and it won't stick as well. It'll be kind of clumpy and harder on the hands. So then you'll have to re-sand, reapply, which is time consuming, and when you're already struggling to find enough time for your workout, it can be a deal breaker. Alright, give that a turn, maybe doing one more pass by, and that should be good. Then I'll just clean up the excess and I'll be ready for my set. When I'm finishing it up, I will use a little extra chalk in my hands to really just try to get a little extra coating on there. Right. The excess. And there we have it, a finished kettlebell, ready for a set, hopefully a new PR. Doesn't really matter as long as you get your work done. Alright, so that's how I like to chalk my bell. I'm Nikolai from Seattle Kettlebell Club. I hope this has been helpful for you. Check us out at seattlekettlebellclub.com.